All right, everybody, today we're going to be working on the Shanty Town set. So here we go. First I have these sheets of details here, but I'm going to set those aside for a moment, and we're just going to take a look at the big shapes for a second here. So when it comes to the big shapes included in the kit, for the most part, I kind of hope that these are fairly self-explanatory. There's a couple things that I'll go into, but I'm not going to break down each and every one of you and each and every one of them and kind of show you what's what, because I think that you guys can figure that out. And research has actually showed that a Promethium Forge customer is one of the smartest humans on the planet, so I take a lot of stock in that. So anyway, here we go. So some things to know is that most of these structures have 4 sides, and then one of those sides is going to be the lift-off wall. So you can decide how important that is to you. There's nothing that says that you need to leave that unobstructed, and you know, that needs to be something that you don't ever put pieces on or around. If you choose to have it operational, that's great. So if you want to have it so your walls lift off, awesome. And if you decide that's just not important to you, then don't worry about it, and model your pieces as you see fit. There's just a couple things to kind of keep in mind with that type of thing. Where these move, you just have to keep that clear. So for example, if this was up off the ground, you couldn't put a walkway under it because it needs to you know, slide off to come off. And you'll kind of figure out what that means when you're looking at your model. But anyway, a couple of the things to note, this guy right here, I call this the bump out. So you're gonna see those pieces together on the frame, and then it has that sloping roof that goes along with it. This guy, I'm just gonna take these off and set these aside so I'm not constantly messing with those. This guy right here is probably one of the trickier shapes. It's got this kind of L shape to it. So you're just gonna have to figure out before you put it together, you know, which one is this thin wall, which one is this longer wall, what's the front, what's the bottom, what's the top, and everything involved with that. A couple hints for you, that the top is recessed just a little bit by 3 millimeters right there. So when you're putting that together, that's kind of a clue as to how things go on. The top is also the one with this hatch door. If you choose to build it that way, you could build it so that is the floor. I suppose those pieces are identical, the floor piece and the ceiling piece, so it's really however you want to do it. Some of the window frames are fit exactly for certain types of windows, and some of them are not. So you can just kind of play around with that and see what you find. And then with these other pieces, there are these floor sections that go in. So, you know, just kind of eyeball those and figure out where they go. When there are floors, they're all equivalent. They're all the same thing. So it really doesn't matter which one's the first, second, or third, and so forth. And then there's just a couple concepts that speed things up for me that I will show you with some of our smaller pieces that kind of apply to putting these together. So with that being said, let's dive into a little bit of that, and I can show you what I'm talking about. So here's a big sheet of details, and many of them are pretty self-explanatory. You got some doors over here, so I'm really not going to cover those too much. I'm going to show you more of the pieces that, yeah, just take a little bit more explanation. So the first one I want to do is, I kind of call this one like the air conditioner. Not exactly sure what it is, just a random piece of industrial machinery, so you can get everything punched out. And here was that concept I alluded to a moment ago. So a lot of these things fit together with a finger joint, and you can kind of use the pieces to see how it kind of fits together like a puzzle. So you can see how that dry fits together, and I do like to fit these things together if it's kind of my first time doing it. And you can see, okay, cool, all that's gonna go like that. Well, when you flatten it back out on the table, every raised portion will get glue. So I can draw a line, and I happen to use this glue syringe. I like wood glue. You can use white glue, PVA, which white glue is basically PVA glue. Anyway, I use wood glue, and I put it in the syringe for just a little more control. I just get a little bit less, you know, on the table in my fingers. So anyway, when I have my pieces assembled and interlocked like that, this piece is a raised piece, if you follow me there. So what I can do is just draw a straight line across these 3 raised sections, and when I fold that in, all that glue becomes internal to that joint right there. So once you sort of get that idea, it becomes pretty quick to find these raised sections, and you can just draw a line of glue across it, and across it, and across it. And again, same concept applies right here. except those aren't going to be together, you know, in the configuration that I just had. So what you can say is, okay, these are raised pieces. So glue, glue, glue right here, glue right here. This is raised, that's raised, that's raised, and there's just a little more. So then, I feel like I'm missing something. Yep, this one, whoops, making a mess already, see? This one right here. So when I go ahead and puzzle piece these things together, all that glue is inside of the joints. And with woodworking, it's, you know, pretty important to get even distribution of all your glue inside these joints. With this kind of model building, it's really not that important. These pieces are going to be plenty strong, even if you mess up that gluing just a little bit. So really don't worry about it too much. It's just kind of getting it in there. Cool. So now these little kind of bumpy candy cane looking bits, they can come off either side. So you can either put them both on this side, and I can continue just with a little glue right there. And that goes down. And then the next one is just gonna kind of run parallel to it. And actually, I'm realizing that I made a little mistake in the model right here. I need to trim those up a little bit so that sits flush with the floor. So I'll take care of that. But hey, if you ever notice that I screwed up, or you want to use the model just a little bit differently than the way I have intended it, you can easily clip stuff off. So if I get to something like that and I want to change it, all I do, I'm just going to put these other candy canes over here. And like I said, you could have them coming off like that orientation, kind of off to the side. Really doesn't matter, it's whatever you choose. But anyway, so let's say I do want to clip that a little bit. I can just get a regular pair of hobby clippers, and I tend to use kind of my B-team clippers for this. I'm not totally sure about it, but I have a feeling they're going to be dulled just a bit, and the pieces of MDF fly everywhere. I'll get those later with the vacuum. And it clips off really, really pretty smoothly and pretty evenly, and we'll look at this technique again when we start to look at clipping off ladders. But there you have it. So there's the air conditioner, just a simple box with a little bit of embellishments. So let's see what else we've got going on here. The next one is a similar thing, but just some different detailing. So this one is also kind of a air conditioner looking thing. I don't know, maybe it's an air purifier or something like that. Kind of looks like a washing machine when I have it out like that. So anyway, step one is a dry fit. So these pieces just kind of go together like that. Yep, looks good. Does that fit? What did I do? Who designed this thing? Oh, okay, so that one's going outside in. You can kind of see a top and a bottom to all these pieces, and sometimes if I'm clever, I get them all facing the right way. Looks like for this one, I gotta have that one facing with that burnt bottom, you know, side facing out. But ultimately, that doesn't matter because we're gonna paint all this stuff. So once again, same concept, I'm just doing the glue on the parts that stick up. And hey, if I don't feel like being super thorough about it, I kind of don't have to. You can get away with, like we said before, not doing glue on every single little spot. Cool. So there's a basic box right there. So now I'm going to come on in with my fan blade here. And you can do this a couple ways. What I like to do is just punch out that fan blade. Isn't it cool how small the laser can cut? And I'm gonna somewhat carefully remove the rest of the MDF. There we go, sure. So now I want this fan blade to sit flush with that surface right there. So I'm gonna get another piece of material, just a random cast off piece. I'm gonna trim that to size, put a little bit of glue on top and on the bottom. And when I glue this in, I now have something for that fan to rest against. So I can kind of press that down, and now from the other side, I can come on in and put that fan right there. Cool. And I'm gonna just hold that in place while it dries for a little bit and put the ring around there. And it looks like I gave you 2 rings. All right, cool. Well, you can make that thicker, or you can just save that for something else. So anyway, there's that little guy right there. Another little kind of fan / air conditioner unit. What else requires explanation on this page? Ah, these guys. So these are meant to interface with soda straws. So you can create pipe works with soda straws. So when you punch those out, You can integrate them with your plastic bendy straws or straight straws to get this look going on. So then you can glue that to the wall, to the ceiling, really wherever you want it. So obviously there's singles and there's doubles. So I think you get the idea with that. This next thing right here might require just a little bit of explanation. This is for string. So sometimes with these circles, I like to get a pencil. Christmas pencils work best, apparently. And that helps me poke out the circles. Well, anyway, so this little guy right here, I'm going to go ahead and add some glue to this side, and then just add these little spacers. And this is just kind of a pulley or some bit of like a block and tackle kind of thing. And that's for all the string stuff we have going on with the hooks and the, various... I don't even know what you call it. Crane gear, rope gear, there you go. Anyway, so now I can use this little guy to run ropes up and down, looks a little cooler. Use it as kind of a redirect for a piece of string. So that is that. Coming down here, we have a variety of 90-degree angles. And these 90-degree angles, I'll show you a more finished version of this whole thing right here. They're basically here to support the undersides of your walkways. So this guy right here. And the one that we're about to build, let me see if I have one. Yep, included right here on this build. It's a little wide actually for this particular walkway, but looks all right, I think. So I just kind of stuck it on there. So now let's look at how this goes together. So that's the central part. And then there are these 4 pieces, and these pins just kind of run through the whole thing and hold it all together. So it serves the same purpose as these or these. They're all the same thing. They're for the same idea. They just look a little different. Their size is a little different depending on how you choose to build that. So these are going to go on here, and I like to make them match. So I'm just going to keep rotating that until that corner matches that corner. And they are kind of facing the same way. So now I can apply some glue and pop those guys on. And like I said, sometimes you flip them over front to back. Get that, whoops, got that wrong. There we go. And then while we've got it this way, I'm just gonna go ahead and install those pins. And those pins are, a little bit for strength, a little bit just for aesthetics. They just kind of look cool, but they actually do make the part quite a bit stronger too, so there you have it. So there's how those pins came in from above, and then I can just finish it up with these other little corner pieces below. Here we go. Cool. So there's my little corner brace, and that is ready for service. I'm gonna just set that aside to dry. So these angles right here, they would just form like the side of a window frame. Nothing too exciting going on there. These pieces right here are kind of our clothesline hooks, and I'll show you where those are on the model. And they are these guys. So let's talk about string for just a second. So with the string, one thing I find is that if I add string to my model, it drapes in a way that doesn't look realistic. The ends can kind of stick out. You can sort of see what's going on over here. It's sort of sticking out at an angle that if this were at that scale, a rope would not hang that way. So one thing that I've found that really helps is actually coat the entire string in wood glue. I just squeeze out a bunch on my fingers and just kind of work it into the string. And then I compose that string and I can get all the ends pointing down and kind of the angle of the draping correct so that it just looks right, and it kind of looks to scale. So that's a quick thing about string. There's another hook that works with the string. This little guy, let's go ahead and assemble this thing. It's kind of a power generator, kind of a plasma coil, and it has these alternating discs that alternate in size, and then you can see that first thing that I punched out, that's where those discs are gonna sit. So let me get a pen here and just kind of help me poke out the, can use a pencil for now. Poke out those spots that are just a little bit tighter. Come on out of there. Come on out of there, there we go. So I'm just gonna run glue straight down this thing. Whoops, glue eruption. Yeah, that's the only bad side with the syringe. Sometimes you kind of get over a little hump or something and you just squeeze out a whole bunch of it and it goes everywhere. But, you know, wood glue is not too expensive, so no big deal. And I can still use it even if it gooshed out of the syringe there. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm just alternating the big ones and the little ones to get this sort of plasma coil look. And then you can glue this to the side of one of your buildings or wherever you think it would look cool. That one has holes in it. I don't remember why I put those holes there. I might go back to the design and get rid of them. Oh, it fell apart because of those holes. Well, who designed that piece? Amateurs. Okay, cool. Well, it's supposed to be kind of like that. I think you get the idea. So, just a cool little detail. You can put that where you choose on your model. Next up, let's go. So I think we talked about these already. Those are just more 90-degree braces for your walkways. Let's go here, and this is the barred window. Pretty simple assembly. Not too much to say about that. You'll see what's going on here. And these look a lot like the ladder rungs that we'll kind of get to later, and I don't even know, they might be the same size, but I'm just gonna go ahead and use the correct ones for what it's for here. So I'll try to reuse some of this glue that I squished out on the table. And after I get glue in all the little square holes, we can just insert these rungs, and there's your barred window. So I'm gonna put those through, and then I like to work on one of these hobby mats because it's relatively non-stick, so I can kind of put things flush on the table, get them straight, and then just slide it over there. And even with that wet side down, that'll dry out, and I can move that when it's time. So there's your barred window. Let's see here. Over here, we just have some boards that go across the windows. I'm not really gonna show you how that works. I think you can figure it out. Shutters, same thing. Here are a couple doors. Now this one has a hole in it for this assembly. So let me show you what's going on here. This door is an empty frame. And this door is kind of its twin brother, but it has the middle filled in, and these pieces go inside here. So I'll show you how. So we just punch them all out. And then the biggest one on the outside, the spacer and the pin holding it all together. So let's see what that means. I'm just gonna put a little glue on either side of this. So I can start with the pin, kind of holds everything together. And then here's the spacer. And then that, oops, clumsy today. That whole thing, just add a little bit of glue, and that goes into the door, just like so, something like that. So there you have it. So there's two different door assemblies. This door assembly right here is just hollow, but I use that hollow space to hold these two cool parts. So these two cool parts are just copies of the same thing, and I'm gonna use my snips here to punch out these parts because they're really thin. I mean, these are some of the thinnest parts in the whole kit. And I call this thing like a Frankenstein switch. I don't really know what it's called. Probably a double pole, I don't know. The electrical engineers amongst you will know the answer to that. But for me, I just call it a Frankenstein switch because that's kind of how it looks. And here's what happens. You've got this rounded piece, and you're gonna put a little glue on there. And then this very small kind of wishbone-shaped Frankenstein switch thing just kind of snaps over that. And it fits on there. You have to push it a little bit, but it is gonna go. So you probably can't even see that with this camera, but that's on there like a Frankenstein style switch. And now I'm gonna go ahead and throw a little glue in the kind of little housing here. And it just sits right in there. And then that pokes off the wall. I usually put it next to a door. You can put it wherever you want. What else is going on this sheet? Ah, yes, these lights right here. This is a tricky little guy. So let's go ahead and put this together. I think this will actually be one of the last pieces on this sheet that requires explanation. Just the rest of it. Well, fairly self-explanatory. Okay, cool. So ultimately what we're making here, let me show you a finished one, is this light fixture right here. So let's go ahead. So there's really a couple ways you can do this, and there's no wrong way you can do this, but the way I typically do it is I start up here, and I start by putting the smallest circle at the top, and there's two little kind of triangles that hold things in. Next, you're gonna get to the most fiddly part. So take this guy, the bigger circle, and it doesn't matter which way is up, but I'm putting 2 dots of glue on the either side of all the squares around there. And then I'm gonna install the sides of the light and just kind of plug those in. Make sure they're getting down in the glue there a little bit. And then I'm gonna come back and put glue on the shoulders of all these guys. And I'll come back with this piece. And like I said, you can do it any way you want to. I kind of built the light so it tapers down, because that just sort of made sense to me, but there's really no specific reason why either piece needs to be on top or on the bottom. But anyway, so things are coming together. I'm kind of getting this barrel shape now. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of glue on either side here and fit the dagger. That comes out the bottom. Just a little decorative piece. And then flip the whole thing over and then put some glue here and then also on the inside of that square hole. And that's where this thing comes in. And that all plugs together, and there you go. So now if I can, I'm gonna balance that up on its edge, and maybe I kind of stand it against a glue bottle or something to just get it to dry. So you've got 2 of those. These things right here are pretty much the same idea as, where did they go? The ones for the soda straws. Yeah, these guys right here. Except these ones accept these square pipes instead. So those are just like pipes, conduit, and you can do a variety of things with those. You'll notice there are deeper ones where after the gooseneck it goes a little further. So those are your double sized ones, and then some that have like a slightly less deep area after the gooseneck, and those are more your single spaced ones. But anyway, play around with those. These are just some more kind of bulkhead style lights, another hook for string. These grates right here, the locked doors, you can put those on the outside or the inside of your doors. They look kind of cool when you put them on from the inside facing outwards. This is great just for exterior texture, nothing else going on there. These are the steps or the treads for our ladders that look like this. So let me see if I can pull off one of these ladders without breaking anything. Well, I'll just grab the whole thing. These ladders that look like this. So that's a different style ladder that we have for this project. And one thing that you can see that I think is cool about this project in general is I cut those ladders to size. So that one's a different size than that one. You can have them spaced apart. You can have the central supports put together. You could just use one central support. It's all up to you. And all those things can work. They're all perfectly good options. But that is how you make those. And I'll just show you, we'll skip to this sheet over here. So here are the uprights. I don't know what you would call it, the risers for those staircases, and then these are the stairs. Now, there's nothing that would stop you from using the wider pieces while we're just diving into all the sheets here. Why not? These pieces right here, those could totally be stairs too. It's up to you. I'll also use those as walkways that go around the outside of the buildings, kind of a catwalk. But like I said, they could be the stairs on these particular ladders. It's all flexible. Cool. So let's get into this sheet right here. This guy creates this thing. So the only confusing part about it is that the top is over here and the sides are located around the other corner. I just had to put it there for spacing everything. So I won't, put that together for you on camera, but that's that. This stuff up here, we got a series of chairs and tables. So I probably won't glue this stuff just to show you real quick how it goes, because I think you'll get the idea pretty easily. So this table, these 2 parts just slip together, and then that makes your round table right there. Find some knights to sit around it with you. Yeah, sorry, I won't do that again. This is a square table, so same idea. You just fit the legs. How do you fit the legs on there? Oh yeah, you gotta rotate it like that. So you just fit the legs like that. You can put them the other way. There's nothing saying it has to go one way or the other, but that's that guy. This table, same idea, slightly different dimensions. The chair is actually maybe just a little counterintuitive, so I will show you the chair, how that goes together. So what's happening here is obviously you have the 2 sides and then the seat in the back, but the seat has a little knob that sticks forward. So that part of the chair sticks forward, and then the back seats in that little notch on the back right there. So that's the way the chair goes. I always want to put these pieces on facing the other direction, but that's how it works. So that's the chair. You get a number of those. Bar stools, pretty obvious how those work, top and the bottom, and they go on the stool spindle, whatever that thing is actually called. Cool, let's get down to some of the other furniture over here. So this piece fell out when I was moving things around, but that thing that looks like a locker door goes right there, and these pieces go together to make a locker. And before I punch that one out, it always looks like a Space Invader to me. I don't know if you guys are into classic video games, but yeah, there you go, Space Invaders. So anyway, the sides of the locker, well, I'll just kind of show you how this dry fits. So I'm gonna turn that upside down and then fit the sides of the locker like that, and my little Space Invader right there. So then I can add, like I keep saying, glue on the parts that stick out. So it's gonna be this little foot. I'm about to get glue everywhere again. Here it comes. Yep, on the foot. And then the side of the locker. And I was just wondering, like, how do people in the Underhive store all their crap? And I don't know, I think lockers might be plausible. Lots of sketchy people coming around. I don't see like personal privacy in your home being a very big thing. So yeah, I probably need a little locker to store your stuff. So there you have it. Little storage locker right there. Let's do all the other shapes that are kind of like that, because there's a few sort of variations on a theme here. So the next one I'm gonna punch out, the walls look the same except there's a hole in them. The ceiling looks the same except it's longer. This straight bar goes with this one. And then this bigger plane goes with this one too. So this is the same exact shape except it's stretched out and it's like a wardrobe, kind of like a closet. So let me just show you how this goes together. How does this go together? You know, sometimes I design these things and then I look at it a little while later and I'm like, who made this? How does this make sense? But then it's kind of fun because I just get to figure it out all over again. And then I always think, oh yeah, the guy who designed this stuff, pretty smart guy. All right, well, not really. So here's this. I'm just gonna get over the hump here with my syringe because it is just gonna go everywhere. Put that on while I can. Cool, and I'll just let that ooze over there. Great, so this one is gonna have a little bit that overhangs on the back, and that's not a problem. Just kind of hangs out there. Hang on, doorbell. Okay, so we got that top part fit on there, and then we're gonna install the closet bar. So I'll just put a little, oh my God, there's glue everywhere, Jesus. Huge mess. Huge mess. Huge. I'll wipe some of that off. So anyway, the bar just goes straight through here. One of these days, guys, I'm gonna figure out how to build models. Maybe not today. One of these days. Okay, there we go. Easy as pie, right? Wipe some of that glue away. So there's the little bar so the Underhivers can hang all their garments in their closet and have fresh clothing to hit the streets. There you go. So anyway, that was that one. Let's do another one that's the same shape but slightly different proportions. And this one is a little sink countertop area, because you know, if you live in the Underhive, you probably want a place to wash dishes and stuff like that. So this time I'll just go ahead and plug it into the top parts here. You got glue running out everywhere. And then the side bit's on. I think you're getting the pattern by now. And then the only little tricky part is where the sink has a little opening. We're gonna install this guy, and now I'm just trying to remember if it was this way. Yeah, sure, let's give it a shot. I'm gonna flip it around. There we go. I like that better. So there's your sink, and I tried to model a little faucet that sticks up here. I didn't have a ton of success, but one could. So here's a little cast off piece I had, so I could trim that down just a wee bit so it's fairly flat, and then dip that in some glue and pop that right there. And there's a little Underhivey faucet Whoops, fell over. Well, we'll get that to balance and stand up, and you get the idea of how you could do that. Sweet. Well, I'm not going to mess with that right now. Just leave that off to the side. Cool. So let's look at some other things. So right here we have a bed, and then we also have a bunk bed. So I'm going to show you the bunk bed because that concept applies to the bed as well. So I'm going to punch out those things that look like ladders, and then we have the pillows, and we have a little teddy bear. So the way this works is I like to do it so you'll notice it's slightly asymmetrical. There's a little more room there compared to there. So I like to make that the bottom bunk. And then you can count up whatever you want, 1, 2, 3. I'll usually go for like right there is the top bunk. Hey, remember when I said the glue syringe gives you a lot more control over the glue? Yeah, that's not true today. Getting it everywhere. So anyway, then just kind of make sure to match that. And there you go with the bunk bed. So the regular bed is the same concept, just it only has one level to it. So then you can put a little bit of glue right there, throw your pillow on each one, or however you want to do it. And I've seen people do fabric with wet wipes that have dried out, and then you soak them in glue, PVA glue, and then you can drape it like fabric. So there's your teddy bear on the bed right there. So I'm just gonna set that aside to dry. That's pretty wobbly until it's dry, then you're psyched. So there's the bed, same ideas there. These are the railings, and when you punch them out like that, you get little feet for each one. So we're just gonna add a little glue, and then the feet just go right on there. Kind of shorter side is the foot. And then the slots on these are long enough, you can glue them or you can not glue them if you want. That's really up to you. If you glue them, they're a little bit more stable, but then obviously you can't move them around. If you don't glue them, you can move them around, so that's kind of nice. So anyway, those are the railings, and you can use those on your catwalks wherever you see fit. What's left on here? Cool, so we have these girders. So the cool thing about these is you can cut these to fit. So whatever you're trying to hold up, whether it's an entire like second story that's cantilevered or just a walkway, you can trim these things down to be the size you need. And the way you do it, you just figure out the slant that you need, and usually it's the one that mirrors that one. So let's say it only needs to be that long. So I just clip right there, and then my girder is just that long, and I can use that to buttress, two pieces that come together like that. And then I still have all this. So once again, I can turn that into the useful piece that would go with this one. So yeah, these are just for however you want to use them. They can fit in anywhere. That's what those are for. So I think we did this entire sheet, ladders, crate. Yep, great. So sheet number 3, last one. So on here we've got some ladders, obviously, and with these ladders, don't be afraid to cut those down to size, whatever size you need. You can just snip those, or even break them in your hands and make them the size that you want. These pieces are just kind of surface details. There's really not much to know there. With these really thin pieces of MDF, make sure you get a little bit of glue on the back so they don't break off. So that's all there is to say about those. This guy is a little convoluted, so I'm going to go ahead and punch that out and show you how that comes together. And all this stuff goes with this piece right here, these 2 pins, this little guy, these A-frame things, and these circles. Cool, so this is kind of another random bit of industrial machinery, and you can see how things go together with these holes that are supposed to line up. So when I start sandwiching these pieces together, you can just watch those holes line up, and then another one goes over here. And on the tops now, that is where, put a little glue in there, that is where these A-frames go in, and they'll just seat down if you get them right. There we go. Cool. So there's the main body of it. So now we have these two pins here. So the shorter one is going to go more towards the middle, and the longer one goes more towards the left. And now I can add this faceplate, and again that just slides on these pins. There we go. So I had pictured this thing as kind of a motor or an engine. So now I'm going to add a little glue there because I imagine that this was kind of the drive shaft. So there's a spacer, and here's this wheel that fits on the outside of that spacer. And yeah, there you go. You know what, I'm going to trim down that peg a little bit, and I'll have that trimmed down by the time you get your kit. And this one goes on here. Cool. So now, yeah, we could drive something with that. You could wrap a string around there and integrate it with the rest of the design, but just supposed to be kind of a cool looking piece of machinery. So that is that. And I don't remember what those parts are for. I might delete those parts. We'll see, or maybe I'll just leave them in and you can use them for whatever bits. Cool, so looking around the rest of it, we see a couple things, and the first one I'm gonna do is the barrel, because that's a little tricky. Some of these parts are just a little delicate, so careful when you pop them out. So that's all that stuff, and then these are the sides of the barrel. So those just pop straight out there. So starting with this little star-shaped thing, we're just gonna put glue on all of these. And I'm gonna use a little too much because it just makes it easier to get things to seat. So now I just start placing in these guys on the sides. So that's the bottom of the barrel. And then these build the sides, and the top of the barrel has a hole in it, so you know you can actually like access the barrel. So that part ends up being a little bit fiddly, but that generally comes last. So these are good enough right here. Stay. Yeah, sure. So yeah, like I said, this just a little fiddly. You can break this piece. If you do break this piece, it's not that big a deal. Just glue it back together. But if you don't break it in the first place, life is a little easier. So there's my glue on all of those. And now I'm just going back around and seating these guys. And you just have to fiddle with it until you get it. Every time I'm doing something like this, I always think, well, at least it's easier than drop pods. Cool, almost there. And there's the last one. Great. So I'm gonna set that aside to dry for just a minute before I add on these bands that go around the outside of the barrel, because I'll have just a little bit less frustration if I just let that dry. So I'm just gonna kind of push that down and then move all this stuff over there. We'll get back to that in just a minute. Here's some little TV screens. Those can go on the insides of the rooms, the outsides of the walls. It's really whatever you want. Here's another crate, and it's exactly like this wider crate that we did before. Where did it go? I lost it. Here it is. Same deal as that, just with slightly different dimensions. Here's some more steps or a catwalk material, whatever you want to use that for. Let's talk about these. So the railings, I think these things are called stanchions in architecture. So the way these work is you punch out some railings, and then you use the stanchions to hold it up. So you can use however much railing you want. And again, all this stuff is just cut to length. So maybe I need that much, and you can just kind of measure out, you know, based on the catwalk or whatever you're trying to make a railing for. And then I like to slide them in there beforehand. So you just kind of get them going in there. And then once I have them roughly fit, I'll go back and get in there. Maybe if I rotate that, will that help? Yeah, apparently it does. Okay, so once I get it roughly in the right spot, then I'm gonna come back with my glue and I'll slide it out of the way just a little. and then put the glue where I want them to ultimately be, and then just slide that back. And that's just enough to get a little bit of glue under there. And again, slide it away slightly, and then slide it back towards where it needs to be. So then, once it is drying, I do like to clip it in to where it's ultimately going to land. So let's say I'm putting it on this catwalk right here. Just clip it to that catwalk so it can dry straight. Now again, you can leave these removable. These are a little more wobbly than the previous guardrails we looked at. I generally glue these ones in place, so you can too if you choose. And again, I like to see where I'm going first, not just kind of make it up like this beforehand, but these are sort of the last things that I put on. But yeah, then you just glue those down and it ends up being pretty sturdy. Let's see what else is on this sheet. Oh yeah, these little ladder rungs. So I'm just gonna punch a couple of these out, and then I punch out a few of these circles. And these are ladder rungs, they're kind of handy. They just glue onto the outside anywhere you need a ladder, just up to a next, higher point. So the circles just go on there just to give it a bit of a flange, a little easier to glue, more finished look. So I'm going to put a bit more glue on that and then put another circle on it. So that's really that. And then I like to let these dry. And then when you're ready, you can pick that up, put glue on the bottom, and then go put it to whatever wall you need a ladder on. So that's what those are all about. There's a catwalk right here. There's some more just random catwalks on the sheets that have your buildings. So that's kind of the last thing that I go ahead and do with my build. Once I get everything glued together, I just try to figure out where it would make sense to have a catwalk. So there's kind of one right here because there's a little, bar area right there, al fresco seating. Here's another catwalk. I generally feel like they should be in front of doors. There's a corner catwalk there, just 2 pieces. Around the back, we use some more catwalk stuff. You can kind of see what's going on there. Just a few other details while we're finishing letting that barrel dry. Here's the corrugated cardboard that I used for the roof. So really any cardboard works with this. You can use the box that your order was shipped in. And pro tip with that, if you happen to have a clothes steamer, if you hit the cardboard with a clothes steamer a little bit, it just helps release that glue. If you don't do that, it's fine, it works, but it's just a little more frustrating. You're gonna end up with a little more of that top layer of paper tearing off, and then you can clean that out. It's a little painstaking. I'd sometimes just leave it there because I just don't care. But if you can use that clothes steamer, yeah, that can really help. And I like to just throw those in over any little window that doesn't have a detail on it already. It just kind of gives that extra depth of realism, I think, and then just a different texture, for visual interest. I think it's kind of cool. So that's the deal with the cardboard. We already talked about the string. I think our barrel is just about ready. So the last thing I'm going to do with my barrel is slide one of these on from the very bottom. And that one can sit flush with the bottom of the barrel, no problem there. There's going to be one in the middle, and that's kind of the fiddly one, and then the one on top is the fiddliest one. So these little octagons that you punch out of the inside of the barrels, those can be just texture. They can go anywhere, another little detail. Cool, so I'm just going to eyeball the middle as best I can. Doesn't have to be exact. If you're OCD about it, you can measure, but I never do. And just slide this on there, and then slide it down to the glue. And once you've got it on there, that's what really, once that dries, that's what really is gonna make that barrel nice and strong. And then the last one, this is a little sneaky here, so I'm gonna put a little more glue around the top. And what I like to do is leave this last band protruding from the top by just a little bit, because it gives a lip for the lid to sit on. So when that one sticks up just ever so slightly, now when I put the lid on, it's gonna stick out just a wee bit and kind of hold that lid in there. And then the handle for the lid is in this piece right here. So I can punch that out. Come on out of there. And then just a little dot of glue. And pro tip, don't leave the lid on there while the whole thing is drying, because it's gonna get glued on there. So there's my lid for my barrel or my trash can or whatever you think. All right, well, I think that just about covers it. Let's see if there's any details that I missed. I think I got them all. If there's anything that I didn't hit, definitely feel free to shoot me an email. I love connecting on Facebook or Instagram or just via email on the website, promethiumforge.com. And I'd be happy to look at any of these pieces with you and yeah, just figure out what they could be used for. Oh, I remember one little thing. That's a windowsill right there. So that piece fits exactly inside that window frame, and that creates a windowsill so you can put a potted plant or something else beautiful to make your hive shine. All right, my friends. Well, thanks for watching with me, and I hope that creates something cool. I'd love to see your photos of your finished product, so post those up on social wherever you get a chance.